Welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. So please subscribe when you're finished listening. You can also go to classicmovierev.com to read notes, bios, and other random movie thoughts. Today's movie is Men in War, 1957. I watched this movie on a whim because of the title and found it to be excellent. It is one for the mantheon, with macho men playing macho roles. It's not your usual war flick, as one of the leading characters only speaks a couple of words. Also, we have discussed all of the actors before. Wow. The film has a 7.3 rating on imdb.com and an 89% on the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, so pretty good. For the most part, critics received this Anthony Mann-directed film well. Critic Derek Adams of Time Out said, quote, "One of the best Lost Patrol movies, set in Korea in 1950, bleakly anti-heroic, and prefiguring Milestone's Porkchop Hill in the bitter irony of its climactic assault on the hill," unquote. However, Bosley Carruthers of the New York Times said, quote, "The screenplay by Philip Yordan and the direction of Anthony Mann are made up largely of previous war film indications of human behavior that mean little when repeated so often," unquote. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Robert Ryan played Lieutenant Benson, a man trying to hold his squad together. Ryan was covered in Episode 51, Battle of the Bulge, 1965. Aldo Ray played Sergeant Montana, a beaten soldier with only one goal left: get his colonel medical attention. Manly Man Ray first showed up in Episode 11, The Green Berets, 1968. Robert Keith played the injured colonel, and although he only spoke 2 or 3 words, drove the entire film. Keith was covered in Episode 98, They Came to Codora, 1959. The other sergeants were James Edwards as Sergeant Killian, who was covered in Episode 113, The Setup, 1949, L.Q. Jones as Sergeant Davis, who was included in Episode 31, Warlock, 1959, and Nehemiah Persoff as Sergeant Lewis, who was covered for one of his signature roles in Episode 134, The Harder They Fall, 1956. Big Morrow played Corporal Zwickley, a man with a problem. Morrow was covered in Episode 35, Blackboard Jungle, 1955. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
The Korean conflict began on June 25, 1950. Ooh. I just realized that's the anniversary of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. I wonder how Custer feels about this starting date. American and Allied troops were rushed into the war and weren't ready for what was to come. The Americans and company were pushed down into a relatively small pocket at the south end of the peninsula known as the Pusan Perimeter. So, the setting of this movie is about the time when our army was falling back in disarray, beaten, and demoralized. Unrelated to the defeat, President Truman's Executive Order 9981 of July 26, 1948, ended segregation in the military. There is a good movie, All the Young Men, 1960, which covers this issue in a Marine Corps platoon during the Korean War. The film stars Sidney Poitier and Alan Ladd. This movie begins on September 6, 1950. A U.S. Army platoon is in a broad valley with their destroyed truck and equipment laying around. The men are wearing the taro leaf of the 24th Infantry Division, one of my old outfits. The radio operator is trying to raise Sunset 6 with no luck. He crawls to where Lieutenant Benson, Robert Ryan, is waiting in a ditch. Benson says they are surrounded and need to make contact with battalion headquarters. The men are nervous as they watch for the enemy and try to eat breakfast. Sergeant First Class Lewis, Nehemiah Persoff, comes in from guard and finds his buddy has been killed by a commie that snuck past. Lewis freaks out. Benson takes the dead man's dog tag, and he already has a large ring of the dead. Lewis starts randomly firing towards the enemy. Everyone joins in, but finally Benson gets them stopped. Sergeant Killian, James Edwards, is working on the truck, but can't get it fixed. Benson tells him that the division is falling back and they must get to Hill 465.
How you doing, Killian?
I'm not. It's hopeless.
Look, can't fail me now, Sergeant. They told me you were the best mechanic this side of the Hudson.
I told you that, sir. No kidding, Lieutenant. The drive shaft's gone. Busted.
Well, then we're really cooked. Italian said to get to Hill 465. On the double.
What's the hurry? It's a long war.
Well, it seems we took a beating yesterday the other side of the Mantheon River. They murdered us with a regiment of tanks.
What?
Whole division retreated before we could out here in the flanks.
We're surrounded.
Yeah, that's why we got to get to that hill before we're cut off for good.
Oh, you mean divisions back there?
Divisions where? Hill 465. The only place we're going to hold the peninsula, and we're going to hold it.
Sergeant Davis, L.Q. Jones, comes up to help divide the equipment from the vehicle. The lieutenant is also told that Corporal Zwickley, Vic Morrow, is sick and can't help. Killian gives Zwickley some APC pills, which seem to be aspirin, phenacetin, and caffeine. Can I get some? They set the truck on fire and head off towards the hill. Eventually, they make it to open ground and spread out for protection. Could kill the whole bunch of you with one grenade. Killian keeps checking on Zwickley. One of the men sees something coming towards them. It turns out to be an Army Jeep with Sergeant Montana, Aldo Ray, and his colonel, Robert Keith. Benson stops the Jeep. These two are wearing the 1st Cavalry Division patch. My old division. The colonel is staring straight ahead and not speaking. Since the colonel is not responsive, Benson forces Montana to stay so they can use the Jeep to haul their equipment. Montana is still enough of a soldier to obey the order at gunpoint, although he thinks the war has already been lost.
What's the matter with him?
Nothing.
Was he hurt?
He just doesn't want to talk to you, that's all. There's nothing in regulations that says the colonel has to talk to a 4-bit lieutenant.
All right, Sergeant. Get out of there. Now get out of that Jeep. State your name and rank.
Name's Montana, rank is Sergeant First Class.
Where's your outfit?
Who knows?
How'd you get lost?
Lost? Who's lost? I'm not lost. They're lost, not me.
What happened?
Nothing. We only got clobbered the other side of the Mantheon. 400 men wiped out. I said, man, I gotta get myself out of here. They're trying to kill me.
The Mantheon River's 40 miles from here. Where do you think you're going?
We're licked. The war's over. The colonel and me are going home.
My wife and 3 kids might agree with you. But not yet, Sergeant. Not quite yet.
Finally, Montana tells Benson that a mine blew up next to the colonel. Benson has to club Montana and take his gun. The men load the equipment and put Zwickley in the Jeep. He makes Montana carry the colonel. The radio makes contact with the division, but a sniper shoots the handset of the radio. Montana shoots the sniper out of a tree and comes walking in with the colonel. Benson draws the sniper out by standing up with the radio. He wants the sniper taken alive. Montana sneaks around and kills the sniper without mercy. When Benson questions him, Montana shows that the commie had a hidden pistol in his hat. The platoon continues to move and Killian is on rear guard. He sits to look at a flower and puts flowers on his helmet, a clear anti-war icon. He then takes off his boot to rub his feet. This is something that you have to do if you're from Mississippi. A damn commie sneaks up behind him and stabs him. Zwickley is driving the Jeep and the colonel is strapped in beside him. Montana is taking care of the colonel. Benson sends him back to replace Killian, but they don't know he's dead. When they find the dead man, Benson goes to look against Montana's advice. When they ambush Benson, Montana covers him while he escapes. Zwickley breaks down because his friend is dead. Benson sends Montana to the rear and tells him not to stop or sit.
Who's going to take Killian's places if I have to ask?
You?
All right, sir. Any further instructions, sir?
Stay 30 yards back. Don't sit. Don't stop. You gotta take a relief? Take it moving. Keep your safety off and your finger on the trigger so if they jump you, your gun will fire.
It's going to be a real life party, isn't it?
Zwickley puts on Killian's flowered helmet. Sergeant Davis tells the lieutenant that he likes to have Montana around because he knows what he's doing. Back on rear guard, Montana spots the commies and sits down so he can trap and kill the pair of ambushers. When they come up behind him, he shoots them. The rest of the squad comes running down. One of the commies is not quite dead, and he gets a radio message out to his buddies before Montana shoots him again. The patrol comes under artillery fire, and Montana runs to the colonel. Benson times the pattern on the artillery and begins sending the men through 2 at a time. Lewis and another man jump the gun, but they make it through. The colonel tries to talk, but can't. The firing stops for a time, and 2 go without the pattern. The next 2 men are killed by the fire. Benson sends the jeep across, and he and Montana walk with it. They almost get killed when Zwickly floods the jeep. They start pushing the vehicle, and the rest of the platoon comes back to help. Benson and Montana are starting to bond. The group gets into a wooded area, and everyone is nervous. Lewis trips over a branch and finds that the woods have landmines. Lewis freaks out again.
What's wrong, man? It's mine. There. Take it easy. Can't panic the men. We can't go on, Lieutenant. We gotta go back. Less than an hour, we'll be inside our own lines. Now hang on to yourself. But it's mine, Lieutenant! It's mine! It's mine! It's mine!
As the men find out, they begin looking at their feet. Lewis runs back and steps on a mine. The colonel reacts but doesn't speak. Benson asks for Montana's help. While the 2 are talking, the colonel tries to talk.
Don't look at me, I won't do it.
Do what? I haven't said anything yet.
You want to give me Lewis's bid, don't you? Well, I don't want the job.
I don't want my job either, but right now I've only got 17 men.
14. Count them.
I'm one man. Can't take care of all of them. Get in a fight, I can only reach 4 or 5. I need your help, Montana.
I can't do it.
For an hour? You get through these woods and get to the hill?
If I go to work for you, who's going to take care of the colonel? Zwickly?
The colonel! The colonel, for the last 4 hours you've been talking about the colonel! The colonel does this and the colonel does that, and how the colonel washes and who's gonna wipe the colonel's...
Montana punches Zwickly. Montana tells the colonel that he will help Benson, and the colonel smiles. Montana and Benson clear a path through the minefield for the men in the jeep. Montana's spider senses detect a commie in the tree. The commie jumps on Montana, bad move, and they capture him. The commie says he wants to surrender. They send the commie prisoner out ahead to lead the Americans through the minefield, a clear violation of the Geneva Convention. Finally, they make it to the foothills of Hill 465. They send the prisoner alone up the hill, and he's terrified. When he stands up, he is gunned down. 3 Americans stand up and call for the platoon to come forward. Montana shoots them down.
They killed him. Must be our men up there.
Looks like we made it.
GI! 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 Hey, what outfit you guys from?
Made it.
Hey! Hey, come on down!
We made it.
Come down! Hey, you guys, what up? They're fake! They're fake! What?
Enemy.
How about that? Ain't that a killer?
You're right, Montana. You're always right.
They are in fact North Koreans in American uniforms. Benson looks at the dead man's family pictures. Benson is mad because Montana shot before he was sure, even though he was right. He sends Montana and the colonel to unload the jeep and leave. The patrol waits on the side of the hill, not knowing who's on top. Sparks works on the radio. Benson breaks down and is full of self-doubt. He has only 12 men left. Benson sends 2 men up to scout. When the 2 men move up, they see 2 North Korean machine gun nests on the road. The American patrol moves into a cave. They prepare for the uphill attack, and Zwickly is assigned to the bazooka. Montana is at the jeep talking to the colonel about what they've been through. Montana views the colonel as his father because the man used to call him son.
We're going to make it, sir. You and me back to the States. We've had our share of action. Maybe we can get transferred to some nice quiet base in the pine trees of Virginia. They think we're running out on them, sir, but we've had our share of action, and they don't know what we've been through, sir. I miss hearing you call me son. I miss that, sir. You're the only man ever called me that. From you, sir, it sounds real. As if you were my father.
Benson has himself bandaged up, and he orders Davis to fire ahead of him with the Browning automatic rifle. The men begin moving up. Benson gets close to one of the machine gun nests. The colonel takes his hands out of the Jeep restraints. The patrol opens up with everything they have. Benson moves up and takes a lower machine gun nest out with a grenade. He gets hit, but he's okay. Davis and another man are killed trying to get to him. A few more men get killed. When Montana cranks the Jeep, the colonel turns it off and says, "We have."
Hey, you're coming through, Colonel. You're gonna be all right. You want to say something, sir? Hey, go ahead, sir. Try, sir. We have. Come on, sir.
He grabs the machine gun and charges towards the hill. An artillery round almost takes Montana out, but he is now back in the war. More men from the patrol are killed, including Zwickley. The colonel flanks one of the defensive positions and kills more of the enemy before he is gunned down. Montana gets to him, and the colonel calls him son and gives him some medals that were in his pocket. The colonel then dies. Montana now only wants to kill, but artillery fire drives him back until he gets near the wounded Benson. Montana draws his knife and prepares to stab what he believes is an enemy. When they see each other, they realize they are the only two left.
It would be you.
Colonel's dead. So are all my boys.
Somebody's gonna pay for killing him.
You want to kill somebody? Well, why don't you kill me?
Kill you?
Yeah.
You said you wanted to get one man alive out of your platoon. Well, you got your wish, only double. It's you and me. Ain't that something?
Forget it. We'll never see the morning.
Yes, we will. They can't hurt us anymore now. They threw everything at us. Rifle-fired grenades, 4.2s, artillery. I'm telling you, they can't scratch us. If we wanted to take that hill, we could take it easy, the two of us.
With what?
We're lucky. With guts, we'll take them. We still got the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Let's go get it.
Oh, wait.
You go with me?
Yeah, but wait.
Wait for what?
I want to live as long as I can.
Benson says they will never see the morning, but Montana says no, the enemy can't harm them. They decide to get the flamethrower and take the hill. Montana wears the flamethrower and Benson loads up with grenades. The two men climb quietly up the hill. When they are close enough, they burn out the upper machine gun nest. They begin taking fire from a machine gun nest further down the ridge. They take cover, and Benson destroys the machine gun with grenades. They sit down in the bombed-out nest and wait for the counterattack. Sparks comes in, and he is okay. Montana and Benson both go to sleep. In the morning, Montana wakes Benson up for breakfast. They are now calling each other sergeant and lieutenant. Sparks comes down with the word that the division is coming in. Benson reads the names of the dead men as Montana pitches the medals the colonel gave him down the slope. World-famous short summary: a man struggles with father issues. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I really appreciate you spending the time listening. You can find connections to social media and email on my site at classicmovierev.com. There are links in the podcast show notes as well. Remember, the show is entirely free and independent. All I ask is that you jump over to Apple Podcasts and give me a review. It really helps the show get found. Beware the Moors.
Reviews? We got no reviews. We have no reviews. We don't need no stinking reviews.